If not, we will return to the country club update. And I think, Scott, if you wouldn't mind, if there's anything, any questions that came up that you'd like to address, that would be fine. And then we'll talk about the situation with Billy Casper Golf.
I guess the only thing I think I could provide some maybe additional insight to is the issue regarding the schedule. It seems to be coming up time and time again. The issue with the delay in the issuance of the RAP is it's a technical side issue. It's not related to the contamination of the property, human health. It doesn't cause any issues with furthering the property towards remediation. It's a step in the process. That step in the process does need to be completed. Some of the schedules that were originally contemplated were idealistic. They were intended to bring the property very quickly and very rapidly through the program. Any business in the state of Connecticut, any municipality, any party subject to the Transfer Act regulations has to tailor and control the remediation costs with future use of the property, potential return on the property, potential return on investment. It's a very expensive process, and it's not something that anyone can enter into very quickly and easily. That said, the original correspondences, I think, that have been mentioned, and I'm not familiar with each and every one specifically at this moment in time, so in a general sense, again, they lay out an idealized schedule. If the party in the transfer program is in a financial position to go forward with completing remediation costs, then that's a great thing. In this particular case, initial investigations were conducted. No significant issues, no risks to human health were identified that haven't been dealt with in some way, shape, or form. The future use of the property was being contemplated. It still remains, from what I'm hearing tonight, undecided at this point in time. A lot of this factors into the final remedial costs. Budgetary estimates have been provided. The final remedial approach on any of these areas will depend on how the property is used, what will be in place at that time, if buildings will be built, if buildings will be removed. Again, a lot of that needs to be determined. In response to public concerns, as I understand them, again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, we are recommending going forward with the SCH remediation, which does initiate the remediation process, and conducting, again, limited investigation in the area of the halfway house. By completing those, remediation is initiated. There is no time frame for completion of that remediation activity or the remediation of the property until such time as the town is comfortable with financing that particular project and has some plan for the future of the property. So I can't say at this time, given what we found on the property, that the town, it's in the town's best interest to move forward with immediate remediation of the property. There's just nothing in the data right now that warrants that.
Thank you.
So can I ask him a question? So you said initially, and this is legally, you said commencement of remediation might be just taking a shovel off the property.
That's correct.
You heard Amy Morella say that that's not true, that it's completion of the remediation.
No, she didn't say that.
Well, is the commencement, the removal of the shovel or an area of the contamination sufficient for the DEP?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And you've spoken with them since the meeting?
I have. We've been in communication with the DEP following the meeting on April 28th. They are comfortable with the approach, the recommendation of going forward with completing the SCH remediation, that it does initiate the remediation process. And then to the degree that the town wishes to go forward with additional remediation, the DEP will support. The DEP is not requiring.
Again, well, we understand that there There was certainly discussion, correspondence about commencing earlier. There's no question about it. As I said before at the last meeting, Amy herself said it's not a huge concern, but it is a technical situation that we've identified and we're moving forward. So, did you want to?
Yeah, earlier you had said that earlier today you were able to actually provide some numbers of the new estimated cost. Can we discuss that a little?
So here's what I would suggest as a process. We don't have to do it this way. We can talk about Billy Casper Golf. Then we could go to Tony's report, and he's got the funding requests. And as we discuss the funding requests, Scott can explain them. They're all related to what he talked about.
I can start questions about that. Great. That's as long as you're going to stay around. That's fine.
Is that okay? Or?
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I just have one real quick because I have no reason to believe that we haven't met certain timelines that were at least set forth in letters and so forth to DEEP. Might have been DEP at the time. But I think, I just want to be clear that you're assuring us, and I guess implicitly DEEP is because I don't see any administrative action.
Correct.
Unless I'm missing it. So you're assuring us that by not acting in a timely manner in accordance with all those deadlines, whether they're statutory or not, I don't know, I'm not an environmental attorney, but there were deadlines and letters, and so there's no negative impact to the town by virtue of the fact that we have not timely acted or timely remediated in accordance with the deadlines that we've been hearing.
But you recommend it to begin now, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
All right.
What's correct?
You're
I don't
answering.
Want to correct the I want
Sorry.
to correct to my question.
There is no, the DEP is not going to issue any administrative orders. There's no, what's the word, financial burden that's going to be implemented because of the delay in the remedial action plan.
So
And
you see
remediation.
no jeopardy, whether it's financial or administrative action to the town, and no jeopardy to adjoining property owners because of the condition of this property.
Correct.
Basically, that's what they're assuring us, right?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, the reason I'd like to do it the way I just suggested is because this is a special meeting, and I don't want to take the discussions out of order on the agenda. So with respect to the Billy Casper Golf, this board recommended a budget to the Board of Finance, and the Board of Finance then has a proposed budget which does not fund the country club pool or the country club golf beyond the end of this year, because we've made no decisions about that. At no time did this board decide or say that we would not be discussing the possible continuation of Billy Casper Golf, depending on circumstances. If we have not gone to referendum, if there's no decision made about the property, if we can work out something for 1 year. Ryan Phelps has been here to talk about what he thinks are the short, medium, and long-term needs. Tony has been in touch with Ryan Phelps continuously during this time. It's just another example of how misinformation and rumors become rampant in this town. So for anyone who is concerned about that, I can assure you that we are speaking to Billy Casper Golf, and if we can work out something that works for the town, we will, unless this board decides to vote that we not do that. That's been our understanding and our intention to go forward, regardless of what we did in the budget, because we had no numbers to put in the budget. So does anybody want to comment on that? Anything else from the board?
Yeah, so we have negotiations that are ongoing?
We've
the time?
been
What-
speaking with Ryan, and he is supposed to come up with some sort of his points. We spoke to him as recently as today, but over a period of time. I think he said another at the end of next week.
And do we
Yep.
have, not a formal, but have we discussed with Billy Casper Golf some kind of timeline of where we want to be in a month or 2 months? In other words, there is some urgency to this, as laid
Right.
out by Deke and some of these other concerns, so that if we all do decide we're going to, continue operations and fund, there is some timeliness here. So I'm just curious as to what.
We have not discussed timing, but we haven't sat down with him. We've been trying to set the record straight on all the misinformation that's been attributed to Billy Casper Golf. We do spend a lot of time correcting the record and trying to get facts out.
Well,
And we've
Ryan
done that.
Ryan was here. And
Yes, he was.
He kind of laid out for anybody who wanted to listen.
Yes, he did.
That was my question. Was it just last month that he
It
was
was
here?
last month, I believe.
Yes, he was.
And, there was.
And nevertheless, I'm sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm not commenting on other than he was here and he laid out certain parameters as to
Right.
what they would be looking for. And of course, that was a public
Correct.
stance. I don't know probably to set up some negotiations. But as long as we're negotiating with them, I think that's good.
Yeah.
I'm
Right, I
certainly
think,
for that, and I think sooner the better, so we know where we stand.
okay. Anyone else? Okay, if not, we will move to Tony's report.
Thank you. The report through April 2016 is a surplus of about $385,000 at the end of the year. It's a conservative estimate for the first 10 months. Leaves our fund balance at just below 10% at $4.58 million. We've gone through a lot of these in the past. I'm just going to go through them quickly. We have a just shy of $90,000 surplus projected in intergovernmental revenues, mostly from our FEMA award from the previous year. Department of Revenues, a surplus of about $42,000, mainly due to surpluses in conveyance taxes and building permits, which are higher than anticipated. And on the revenue side, we also have an anticipated surplus of $85,000 due to increased private duty revenues, mostly due to activity from the United Illuminating doing work around town. I'm sure most of you have seen that. In our expenditures, general administration is a surplus of $35,000. We went out to bid last year and did very well, and so that was the result. The center building has a surplus of about $12,000, largely in utilities, due to some savings there in terms of the rate and also some conservation. The police department, mainly due to some vacant positions, should have a surplus of about $40,000 this year. They've had a number of vacant positions there, and that's a result. Parks is a $10,000 surplus, was a vacant position earlier in the year. Pool and gym, due to the conversion of heat, the boilers at Beecher, we no longer need to purchase oil for the pool to heat the pool. So there's a savings there. Debt service, $12,000, savings due to a refinance that we did. Waste management has a projected surplus of about $50,000, mainly due to tip fees and bulky waste disposal tonnage, which is lower than we had budgeted. Benefits, there's a surplus of $30,000, largely due to savings in healthcare from the vacant positions I indicated earlier. And lastly, as of the time we did this report, the Board of Education deficit was at $194,000. Dr. Stella mentioned earlier that today that was closer to 150 approximately. So that would add about $45,000 to the surplus, which I indicated earlier, bringing it to about 430. So I didn't have that information when he just announced it tonight, so I did the calculation quick, so it's around 425. So it's a little higher than our allocation.
Any questions for Tony?
No.
Okay, funding requests. Why don't we
do these
start
first?
with it? Yes.
Yep. Okay. There's going to be 4 funding requests that I'm passing out. One is for the water testing that was done on the existing monitoring wells.
I'm sorry, these are not what we had in our back.
No,
we're going
because
to
they just got
we'll
them.
start with the country club.
We just
and
got
then
them
we'll go to the
recently.
I
others.
don't have,
I
yeah.
I don't have that.
Oh, no, maybe.
No, these are new. So one is the existing funding for the existing testing on the existing wells, which most of which has been done, but it was done in advance because of the timeliness of the information. The second is for the removal of the soil and the significant environmental hazard section behind the maintenance area. And then the last 2, it's a combined transfer because part of it's for contingency, and that's for the additional monitoring wells up by the halfway house.
Those 3 new ones that you recommended this evening?
Correct. The ones you recommended.
It's
There's
4-3?
there's 3 total. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
What's the total of all three?
Around $60,000.
60?
60.
Yep.
So the first one, 24.8.
Yeah, we can go through them in this
Why don't
order.
we,
order.
yeah, why don't we put on the record what this is? This is line item transfer number 1516-18 in the amount of $24,800. I'll move approval of the line item transfer for discussion
Second.
purposes. Okay, Joe.
So this is for the removal of the SEH soil that
He's talking about.
Correct.
was being discussed, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So 24.8 for that, that's the 17 tons.
Correct.
Or
Right.
thereabouts.
That's right. Do you want to just speak a little about that?
Sure. The cost is broken up into 3 items. I'm sorry, that's the SEH remediation.
Yep.
Broken up into 3 specific items. There's the lab testing, confirmation sampling, reporting, oversight and design of that remediation. Then there's the excavation contractor, who will be the party that comes in with the dumpster, for lack of a better term, that we discussed. They'll come in with the trucks, dig out the area, put that material into the container, and then they'll mobilize that container to a facility that will be selected. And then there's that disposal and mobilization cost, which is the 3rd item.
Totally 24.8?
And that should be the total of 24.
Yeah. That's this one.
That includes all the fees and everything too? Or
That-
that's
This
separate?
is bottom line.
That's bottom line.
Gross, gross, yeah.
That's great, that's total.
Net,
That's the
net.
entire cost.
Just for that phase, though.
For the
Yeah,
SEH
just for
remediation
the
specifically.
SEH.
And I think before I asked you, but I think you said it could be done in something like a 2 to 4 week period once you actually put the shovel to the ground?
2 to 4 weeks,
Because
correct.
a day to do the work and you have to leave it in the container until you add the sand and test it. Okay.
Correct. We would do the testing, and we wouldn't be adding anything to it, we'd be testing it, and then.
With your mix, okay.
Yep, getting it
My
on.
next question is for you, Tony.
Sure.
I see that it's coming out of vehicles?
Yep, I can explain that.
Sure.
So this is an example of a situation where the town had funded money for a van at Human Services, but the town also had received a grant for that. But the timing of the two were such that the grant was received after the appropriation was done in the budget. So as a result, the amount of money remaining in that account was about $50,000.
What county was that?
The Human Services van.
Vehicle.
Right.
Was that the AT&T
Correct.
grant that provided the
It wa- it
van or
was-
something?
no, it was
Or
through the
somebody-
state. Yeah. So as a result, that was an appropriation made in the capital budget that was no longer necessary. So you follow the appropriations process to either reuse it or,
So this is about half of what that was.
right, the other, you'll see some of the rest of it coming.
Scott, on this item, you had said that when you dig up the soils and then retest, it could possibly reduce the amount because the contamination, the average contamination level might go down. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's this one. So, Tony, if it should come in less, that's not a
We c-
problem.
Right, we could do
We
a
don't
not
have
to
to say-
exceed amount, and then we just would do the exact amount.
So
Should-
that begs the question, can there be an increase? If it's flexible and variable.
This is a worst case scenario, and what I did is I capped our cost. I have some control over the contractors, but I can't necessarily cap their costs.
Right.
What I can do is I can cap our costs. So I capped those off. I added a discount, so that cost should be, I fully anticipate, is a worst case cost.
So
If anything, that cost should come down if the testing is favorable and we can dispose of the material as non-hazardous waste.
So, Tony, is it your recommendation that we do not to exceed or just leave it this way?
If you do a not to exceed, then what I'll do is anything that's, it's your choice.
We may as well just do it. We'll do it this way. This is what the motion is,
Yeah.
and if we have extra money,
It'll
we'll
just
find
be
a way
there.
to.
It'll just be there for,
Okay.
however you decide you want to use it.
Great. This is very nice, happy solution.
And can I ask one more question?
Sure.
When do you think you'd be able to start?
We could start within a couple of weeks of notice and authorization.
Assuming
to
it's funded.
go. Correct. Yeah. Once we get the authorization and you want to go, we can jump.
And we'd have to be in touch with Billy Casper Golf so that they know what's happening.
There'd have
But,
to be access arrangement. Yeah.
but I think we talked about this. It would not interfere with golf operations.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
No, so
If
the
not-
total
oh.
transfer is gonna be only 24,800.
For this one.
For this particular
one.
part.
For just this particular
For the
portion.
SCH.
We have three
That's
different
it.
ones.
Okay, because I'm seeing several amounts
There's
here, and
more.
I'm not sure.
We'll get to each one.
We're getting
Okay,
So
all right,
we're
good.
only voting on transfer 1516-18 in the amount of $24,800. The motion has been made and seconded,
Yep.
Right.
correct? Anything else? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. The next is line item transfer number 1516-19 in the amount of $15,000. Is there a motion to approve this transfer?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, I see.
Thank you. Tony, do you
This
have
is for the testing of the existing groundwater monitoring wells, which he indicated this evening.
Yes. The testing that we completed, where we retested all of the wells on the golf course property, as well as the additional property, is included in that.
Did you mention another well?
Three.
That's the,
the next
we're
one.
getting to the
That's
new
next.
wells.
Because they
Again,
have to,
this
they have
was-
to actually be installed.
Right.
This-
Okay, yeah, okay,
This
I
was
didn't-
the,
This was-
the one.
This
test-
is the work,
ones
that-
that- okay.
essentially the work was completed.
These are
We
existing.
jumped on this and to have, we were hoping to have results expedited and as quick as possible for the meeting in April.
Is this the
Unfortunately,
same fund?
Same one, yeah, the total was about 50, so you'll see about that much in funds.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. We're now at line item transfer 1516-20 in the amount of $12,336. Very specific amount.
And
Um,
I'm gonna, okay,
Is there a motion to approve this transfer?
so this
Is
one I
there-
want to explain.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
So I want to explain this one a little. This is in two parts because half of it's, a little less than half of it, is a funding request from contingency.
Oh, I see.
Because we didn't have we used all the funds remaining in the van account.
Gotcha.
So the balance is a contingency request. So as a result, part of it's a line item transfer, the rest of it's a funding request, but it's essentially the same issue.
It's
So,
still 12,336.
Right, and then you have the one following it is
plus 8,900.
8,964. So the total, this is to install new monitoring wells up at the
Halfway house.
halfway house. The total here, 21,300, if you add those together.
So you broke it up because there's two different.
Two funding, correct, right.
Am I correct? It's actually three. It looks like you used up the vehicle and
You're right.
the CNR building.
Those are line items, and then the other one's a
Right,
funding.
used
that's why
up
we
those
need
two.
to get the
Maria, just a
constituency.
second. Tony's
I'm
asking. a
sorry, so
question.
you used up those two, and this is the balance. coming
Correct.
out, Contingency paid up.
Well,
Correct.
we still have to, that's this.
We're going to vote on them separately. So
Yeah.
so far we have a motion and second on 1516-20 in the amount of $12,336. That's for the installation and monitoring of the new wells at the halfway house,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any other questions? Are you voting, Joe, or you have a
I'm
question?
voting.
Okay, all those in favor?
You're already voted.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, is there a motion to approve funding request 1516-21 in the amount of $8,964?
So moved.
Second.
As Tony explained, this is the
This is the
second
second
part
half of that, right.
for the same wells and monitoring. Are there any questions or discussion?
Coming from contingency.
Contingency,
This
right.
is contingency.
I try to use the projects before we go use contingency.
Yes.
This is very creative. Good job.
Okay,
If nothing else, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions for Scott, anything else? Thank you very much, Scott, we appreciate it.
Well, I think
Oh,
Maria.
How's Scotland?
After this, will we have more testing? I mean, because you're supposed to report periodically, I think is part of the plan, isn't it?
There are other areas of the property that do still require activity, if I can put it that way, some remedial action, the halfway house being one. And that's why we're recommending initiating some of that work now in order to satisfy some of the concerns that were voiced last month. And again, make additional progress there, which as I understand, seems to be the desire. And it keeps the process moving. So there will be steps going forward, additional steps in each of these areas.
More funding is what you're saying.
Well,
There's-
Excuse
to get the property
Just
through
to explain, this
program.
is not a plan for the entire property. That's a much bigger plan. This is
Right.
our
Just
next
for the
immediate
maintenance,
steps.
that's just
For
for the,
the SEH
Yeah.
removal, soil removal, and for additional wells and monitoring around the halfway house.
Right,
That's-
okay.
those are-
That's
we moved
clear.
those up
Okay,
in the
great.
agenda.
But obviously, anything further than this will cost the town some more money, is that what you're saying?
There was, in order to get through closure, there's additional steps and that would have to be completed.
Just wanna make sure that I didn't miss anything.
Sure.
Anything else, Scott? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so now we have
More
funding request 1516-13 in the amount of $5,370. Is there a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
I'll second. Tony, do you want to explain this?
This is a request from the fire department for additional costs for their aging, parts of their aging IT infrastructure that they didn't anticipate in their budget.
Any questions?
It's for IT vendors who come in and do some work on some of their infrastructure that's been giving them problems recently.
It's from
Yeah,
contingency.
I just have questions, but I don't know if you can, I mean, I'm looking at Sean's, who got? I'm looking at his memo, and
Do you want to, I mean, we could
I
certainly,
don't think I speak that language.
you want to,
I
we
don't
can certainly have
understand
them
anything.
Too many
come, put it off
You
and
will
come next
after we're
meeting.
done with the radio.
Okay. I don't mean that directly, I just don't understand.
Right.
I don't know the
It says-
specifics about what exactly was
First it
giving them
says his
trouble.
budget was cut, then it's a change in the way on-call services are billed, and the need for gigabyte switches has created a shortfall.
Sure. You have any sense that there's
No,
urgency
you
to
can
this?
put it off and have them come next meeting if
It's
you
not a lot of
want.
money, I just, if anybody knew the real
Yeah.
need.
Yeah,
why
that's,
we're-
I don't
And
think that's a
again, this
big
will be
deal.
coming from contingency.
Right.
So Maria, if you, when you, the cover page is a memo and the next page
Okay,
will show where it's from.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
No, it says right here, also, continue.
So
I guess, I
would you
mean,
like to, would you like to
we're
delay it?
satisfied that this is a real need, that it's, you know,
You're comfortable.
I am, yes.
okay.
There was
Yeah.
an extensive discussion at the fire
Okay,
commission
that's
about it,
all.
and they, I think, felt they were comfortable.
But maybe we can ask Sean to
Again,
either explain it to
gigabytes.
us, or maybe your ad hoc committee will be able to explain it to us soon.
So actually, listen, if it's
I
needed.
fully expect it.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead then and take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Uh,
I'm sorry, did you, yeah, is there,
No,
Maria, are you,
No, I'm not opposed,
careful when
okay,
you say
fine.
so let's just vote again. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Next is line item transfer 1516-14 in the amount of $4,000. Is there a motion to approve the transfer?
Second,
Thank you. Tony?
This is a request to cover an increase. The fire department has, and perhaps you discussed this at the commission also, putting iPads in their fire trucks to get quicker access to their firehouse software
I
program.
don't remember,
You didn't dis-
but I had to leave to go to another meeting, I think, that night. and
So this is a
came
request
back.
to do that and
My
to
apologies.
fund the cellular costs.
So, yeah, it says this is a request to cover increased costs in cellular service.
Mhm.
So we're not buying the iPads.
Not the iPads. They have the iPads already.
They have
It's
the
just-
iPads.
This allows for a
So the use
continuous.
of those iPads, what,
That
6 or
did come
7
up.
iPads or
Okay,
whatever?
I thought you were
it
talking
is.
about
Yeah.
iPads,
So
my
within
apologies.
No,
BS
it's-
But I
Let's
can
ask
read it off
one
my
question at a
computer.
time. Joe, finish
Yeah,
your
I'm sorry.
question.
So this is just on our cellular plan.
Correct.
This is the increased cost for the
For the,
service.
the various iPads that they have in their trucks. Exactly what they use them for, he would be more appropriate to ask.
So how do we know it's $4,000?
If you do the math based on the number, how much it costs per month times how many iPads they have, I don't have that
But they've never
specifically.
used them before, right? So we don't have a historical.
Right, but they have to sign into a plan. So we have to plan the cost. You know, it's a
Okay.
state plan that we use like state contract pricing for it. But so this is a request to do that as an enhanced tool for their communication. If you decide to do that, if you decide that they shouldn't be able to access iPads in the trucks and that they should just do it the way they're doing it, then you just don't approve it.
How do they do it now?
Yeah, how do they do it now?
I'm not comfortable doing the technology aspect. I don't.
I
know.
think there are questions about these fund transfers that we need,
Yeah, I
we need
think-
Sean or somebody here to
It's not-
explain
you could
it.
wait till next month
Isn't the radio
and
communication going
I'd be-
to enhance something and, I
Well,
don't know.
the issue is, I am by no means am I the expert on this, but as I understand it, the increased use of data.
Right, they use the
is-
firehouse software.
Okay, is following all of both the police and the fire, because more and more the data usage is just astronomical in terms of the amount of information that they're accessing. It has nothing to do with them necessarily communicating with each other, which is the radio issue. This is really about, maps and Google and, other resources and how they're getting to where they need to go,
We did
and
the
also
first one.
monitoring the usage of their own equipment, and it takes care of a lot of that kind of stuff. As I understand this particular transfer, they're really looking, instead of buying
Better data
gear,
plan.
huh?
It's a better data
It's a
plan.
better data plan,
I
right?
Right.
see, I see.
And they're not asking for
They're-
contingency, they're asking from within their own operating
Right,
budget,
right.
I
correct?
see.
Correct.
But you've
Okay.
just exhausted my information, I know nothing beyond that.
So whatever people are comfortable with, if you'd like to wait until next month and have Sean explain it,
So
or if you're
they've been
comfortable.
using the iPads? I might have misspoke. They have the iPads.
They've had
so
the
they've been
iPads
using
for a
I'm
them.
not exactly sure what,
That's what I wasn't clear.
Why don't we
on.
table this
Yeah.
one and get some more information?
that's fine.
I think
Yeah,
that's-
it could wait till next
Okay.
month.
Maybe they
So-
have data.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Would
so,
that be both of them?
well, we voted on the
No, we
first one.
voted
We
on
voted on
it.
the
Voted
first
on
one.
13.
But he can
Yeah.
We
explain.
don't want to reconsider that.
He can still explain it to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get the explanation and we'll table 15, 16,
This one
14.
we're ready to table.
Yes. Now we're at 1516-15 in the amount of $10,994. Is there a motion to approve the funding request?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll
Second.
Thank you, Beth.
Sorry.
Tony, can you speak?
This, certainly, we had a UPS fail on 125 Bradley Road radio site. So that's the site that services most of the lower Woodbridge area. And
Is that a send and receive site?
I believe it is, yeah. That's
Good job.
good.
Yes, I think it is.
I mean, that's important.
Yeah, and so we had to replace the UPS, otherwise there was, that whole area would be out in the event of a power failure.
So we already.
We did this
We did
already,
this. This was
yeah.
an emergency
Basic,
and we
alright.
authorized it.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. Next is fund transfer 1516-16 in the amount of $17,500. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Tony?
This is the funding for the traffic calming project on Landon Street that was discussed a few months back.
Right.
It consists of, again, you'll see the funding, it's a line item transfer from several projects that were finished. You'll notice there's a natural gas conversion, some painting, and some work at the library, and some flooring work at the center building. So those are projects that were completed. And this is to install 2 speed humps and a speed table as was presented at a prior meeting.
I may be remembering this incorrectly, but I thought he was going to pursue a grant for this. Or he thought there was some grant money available that panned out, that did not.
Did not pan out as far as I know.
Okay.
And I
This
thought
would-
it was only $15,000, but, it's different. I mean, but I thought.
So we have to go out get pricing, go out to bid and stuff, so this is,
This is also a not to exceed.
right,
This is just a parameter.
right.
So Tony, does the state waiver program apply to any of this kind of stuff? I mean,
State
the
bid,
bidding
state
process?
bid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
in theory, you're getting a lower overall price.
correct,
Okay.
if we could, yeah.
Can I ask one other question? Are these permanent? I forget. Are they just something?
They're permanent.
They
You
sit there.
cannot pick them up and walk away
I wasn't
with them.
planning to, but they
They'll be
don't-
permanent.
They stay where they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the
And you're
permanent
very
option.
calm.
You're calming. I got it.
And this is the entire scope, right?
Correct, this is everything from
So it might be
signage to pavement marking to installation of the asphalt.
Okay.
Sounds like we did a lot of cleaning up of who counts.
We did, as a matter of
A lot of
fact,
sweeping.
That's
A lot of
far,
sweeping.
Yeah.
Well, not yet, we have to.
we did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, that's the extent of the projects.
Come over to my house, clean up my account.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve line item transfer number 1516-17 in the amount of $2,500?
So moved.
What?
Second.
Tony, do you want to?
Sure, Mary Ellen has requested the transfer because she's had additional mail costs related to an additional newsletter, so it's additional postage cost and additional a number of newsletters that she sent out, sort of the double. And she doesn't have enough to finish the year, so this is to
So
send the
she takes
newsletter.
an age limit, a year, and says, now I'm sending it to everybody who's over that year.
Seems like it.
I believe she sent it to additional baby boomers, so she puts on her information.
I just have a question. These are all accounts within her budget?
Correct. These are all
Okay,
within
so
her
there's-
budget.
So she cleaned up her budget the same
Yes.
time?
Right.
It's towards the end of the year, so she's able to
Okay,
clean
it's
it
hard
up.
to tell from the numbers. I don't know where they are. Okay, that's good.
That's a good
Thank you.
question, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. That concludes funding requests.
Correct, yep.
The next item is a
Wasn't there
letter.
another container hauling services thing we have to?
That's
That's not here.
it's not a funding request.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
next
put it in
is.
the wrong place.
The next is really an FYI with respect to a state grant that we receive that we then pay over to our emergency, our regional emergency
Correct.
service.
It's a pass
So-
through to our CMed provider.
And we have in the past always assigned it to CMed, but CMed no longer exists. It's now
Right.
MedCom. So we just wanted to notify the board if there's any questions about this. We would be notifying them that it will no longer be CMed, it will be going to MedCom.
It says last year we designated MedCom.
Yeah, we
was
do this
still- it was
typically every
still-
year.
It says if you don't change, you don't have
Yeah.
to do anything. So I think we're cool.
Oh, it says
We did, yeah. But
Oh.
every year we do this
I think
because it's a
we're good to
grant. They're
go.
grant the funds we receive, and so in order to delegate those to
Oh,
another
right,
location.
right. Oh, they call it a CMed credit, but it's actually going to
But it's going
MedCom.
to MedCom.
Correct.
Okay.
And we're good
Right.
to go.
Yep, so we're sticking with MedCom because that's where we are. Okay. Next is a request to approve bid 2015-05 for container hauling services. Is there a motion to approve the bid?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Tony?
So we do a multi-year bid for hauling, and this is year 2 of that bid. So it's just to award it to, which is was the low bidder at the time, is All American Waste. We used to be Trashmaster, and All American Waste has purchased Trashmaster. So
Any questions for Tony? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Excuse me, I don't know who seconded that.
I did not.
I think
I think I did.
Oh,
think
yeah,
Joe
Joe did. I made the motion.
Joe did.
Thank you.
Who made the motion?
Beth made the
Beth,
motion, Joe
and
seconded.
Make it up.
Okay. Ready? Assistant Administrative Officer's Report. Betsy.
Just a brief update about the e-newsletter. We now have 996 subscribers, so we're so close to 1,000, so close.
Can I double sign up?
No, you can't, unfortunately, the system's too smart for that. So some of you may have noticed I've slightly modified the format of the newsletter. I still have the 3 news items at the top, and below those items I've added a list of upcoming events. Because in the past, the 3 news items were frequently events that were coming up a day or 2 days after the newsletter came out. That's not how people live their lives. So I want to give people advance notice of all the different things going on in town. So I've been working closely with the library, the recreation department, public works, human services, all of our departments that are putting on events to try and help get the event information out in one location to make it easier for residents to know all the great things going on in town. So just wanted to give you all a heads up about that. If you know anyone else who wants to receive the newsletter, 4 more people till 1,000.
Have more
That's
children.
Anything else, Betsy?
That's it.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy.
Okay, the next item is acknowledging receipt of the town clerk's
So
report.
moved.
For a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. For Selectmen's report, the first item I'd like to mention is to remind everyone that the annual town meeting is Monday, May 16th at 7:30 in the Center Gym. Next, on economic development and traffic updates. I met with Ginny Kozlowski from the Regional Economic Development Board and department. They do for the SCROG region, the South Central Connecticut region, and we meet with her from time to time now to make sure she remembers to talk about Woodbridge and keep up to date on any available properties in Woodbridge. And the Regional Council of Governments had authorized contributing to the cost of a trip by REC's representatives to a trade show in Germany. So we spoke to her specifically about what availability of high-tech facilities here in Woodbridge, so that she would be sure to think about that as she spoke with companies there. We don't have a report back from her yet, but she is back from Germany. The EDC business breakfast at the JCC was a very informative talk by Yaron Baich and another IT expert that he brought to help particularly small businesses understand about protecting data. We also visited Savino Vineyards. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it, on Ford Road. Jerry Savino has created his sort of what he's always wanted to do. He's had several restaurants in the past, but now has the vineyard. Betsy, I think he said it's over 3,000 vines now. It's really expanded, and it's a wonderful place. With respect to Exit 59, we had an update meeting with the Department of Transportation, and this was for public comment on the plan that they have now developed. It was very well attended, and the DOT representatives stressed that this is an interim project. This is not the complete project. It's something that they can do on a short-term basis, which for DOT means 3 to 5 years. Remember, that's down from 30 years. They did reassure us that the funding has been secured for the project, so there shouldn't be any impediments to its going forward. There were very good questions, and they asked people to follow up with emails, and they will take all of those into account.
Is there a plan that we could see? Because I was not there at the meeting.
Yes, there is a plan.
Where is it now?
It's at my desk.
Okay, great.
It's right
Yeah.
there.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and there are brochures.
All right.
Then Tony and Betsy and I attended another DOT meeting that same week in New Haven with representatives from DOT and New Haven and Hamden, and that's about the initial plans for repair of the tunnel. We've heard from DOT that the tunnel does need significant repairs, and they're trying to figure out the least impactful way of making those repairs, and I say impactful in terms of traffic and residents. I think I can safely say no matter what they do, it won't be fun.
Yeah.
And they had some preliminary ideas. The one they were leaning to at that time was actually to blast a third tube, as they call it, on the New Haven side of the
Right, the New
existing
Haven side,
tunnels,
right,
and possibly as a temporary passageway that then they could then use for other purposes. But it's unclear whether or not they'll be able to do that, and whether that will remain their preferred plan. It's in the preliminary stages. One thing that was disheartening was that they had not had any conversations with the group that was looking at Exit 59. Not only that, the Exit 59 expedited group had not had conversations with the group that was doing the bigger Exit 59 plan. So as soon as the state completes its budget so that people are more available, we will be reaching out to the commissioner and people in the department to assure that they are speaking to each other about this greater project, so they're coordinating together. Certainly do our best. Community events, the Human Services Volunteer Tea was extremely well attended. There are so many volunteers who help at the Senior Center. Audrey Grothier was the recipient of the first Selectmen's Youth Award. Barry Vine received the Special Friend of Human Services Award. And Beecher Road School Kindergarten and the Children's House of Montessori received special recognition awards. It was a very, very nice ceremony. As Dr. Stella mentioned, I was at Bethwood Baseball opening day. It was a perfect day like today. There were hundreds of happy, excited children, and it was great to see. And also a remarkable example of the volunteer efforts of parents in our town. Dr. Stella mentioned Dwight Rowland and just so many others who are out there for the kids and helping them. I attended the Yom HaShoah Memorial at the JCC. That's the Holocaust Memorial Service, which is always very, very moving and meaningful. And the remarks this year were by Dr. John Crystal, who lives here in Woodbridge. He spoke about his father's experience. He was, as a child, a Holocaust survivor, and it was a beautiful talk, really beautiful. That same day, went to the First Church of Christ here on the Green, where they had a band called Afro-Semitic Experience singing songs of freedom, and it was apparently a kind of new venture for the church. It was a great group, and it was a very nice balance after the solemnity of the Yom HaShoah process. Beth and I were at the Volunteer Fire Association installation dinner. I want to say congratulations to all the officers and add our thanks to Margaret for all that the volunteer firemen do for us every day, as you noted. I also attended the Centenarian Lunch at the JCC, which was sponsored by the South Central Connecticut Agency on Aging. I believe, Jerry said we have over 15 residents in the town of Woodbridge who are over the age of 100.
We have two that are 105.
Wow.
And there were 2 at the event from Woodbridge, and I'll tell you, you would never, ever think they were 100 years old. Both physically, mentally, it was very impressive. And as was already mentioned, the person of the month for May is William Rosario, who does so much work with all of us. On that note, I did want to mention, it was such a beautiful day today. William had a great idea, and that we have our meeting outside. He was ready to set up the chairs for us. So if the board ever wants to do that, we'll be ready. On our Going Green initiatives, we worked very diligently with our state delegation to help pass legislation that lifts the cap on solar credits, so that this had been an impediment to us going forward with our project for a solar array at the Cap landfill. So that impediment has been removed, and it was done on the last day of session. It passed both chambers, and I want to thank Senator Crisco, Senator Schlossberg, and Representative Clarities. They were really there for us and worked hard to get this passed. So we thank them very much for that. The microgrid project is underway. Tony meets with you every 2 weeks on progress. We've talked about that before, but I did want to mention that we were invited to a White House conference on resiliency planning, sponsored by the U.S. Department of Energy, and our microgrid project is one of the featured projects there. Yes, Chip Dumais and I sort of fought it out about who would go, and we had so much going on here. Chip actually went down there to be part of it with UI. So that's most of the month. I continue my monthly meetings with Mayor Harp, which are very helpful in so many ways, talking about economic development, talking about Exit 59. I mean, one of the reasons we've gotten so much attention is that we're working with the city of New Haven. So that's been great. That's the report. With respect to liaison reports, I couldn't make it to the Amity board this week, but I did sort of check. There weren't too many major issues. As I said, Dr. Dumais wasn't there, so I think they kind of kept it short. So now we'll do other liaison reports. Joe, do you have anything?
Mine's short. I was on vacation. So I didn't get these, but I guess we know what happened at the CCW.
Mm-hmm.
They
Right.
recommended we negotiate with Billy Casper Golf, but I didn't make the Conservation Committee.
Thank you.
Can we get a report on Italy?
After hours.
Maria?
Okay, so with regards to the Recreation Commission, I did not make it to that meeting because I had to be here for the preliminary budget meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But what I get from them is that they are getting memberships. I don't know exactly where they are now from the time that I spoke to them in the past, but apparently they're marketing, they're doing all kinds of things. They had to increase membership, but I don't know the details. The other, which is, I think that's great, that they had this service day where they had volunteers come, and there was surprisingly a lot of people doing painting, cleaning up, and all that kind of stuff to prepare not only the pool but other recreational places. So
Great.
that was great.
Good.
I don't know. There's nothing else that I can think of that's more important than those. Now with the Board of Ed, I went to their last meeting, and always, I learn something all the time from them. Dr. Stella was not, well, he made his report, so I'm just gonna add some highlights. One of them was that apparently Woodbridge teachers, our Beecher Road school teachers, are invited so often by other cities to guide them in what to do, or they come here and observe. I mean, I think that's amazing. That tells you what the quality of our Beecher Road education is. The other thing that I observed, not only this meeting but the meeting before, was that they have now these weekly newsletters that are done in video, and kids, work on it so that they're like, amazing future editors and television announcers, and their topics are amazing as well. The first time I saw it was about the ban on retail plastic bags, but this time it was about what you do to care for other people. And then the other thing that was amazing was they have these vocabulary things where somebody in the group chooses 2 amazing words, and they talk about it, the significance about it, and they say, okay, now you try to talk like this on a daily basis and use these words. I thought that was wonderful.
Do you remember a word?
No, not anymore, but yes.
Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you.
well, I
that's great.
like the idea.
I do too.
We should be
Thank
very
you.
proud of all these things.
Tony?
Okay, actually, I did some of the painting on some of those chairs. What I did want to mention for recreation is there's an open house at the CCW pool on the 15th. So anybody out there who wants to come take a look at how great the pool club is coming along, please do. Library, I'll start with library. The last meeting was on Monday, the 9th. Their next meeting will be June 13th, the library at 6 p.m. But basically, the budget's on target. There is a June 3rd, 4th, and 5th will be the library book sale, which the Friends of Rotary also participate with. If you have any spring cleaning and you have books available that you'd like to donate, they're still looking for them. So stop by if you can, or give them a call at the library. Mary Kelly's serving her last week at the reference desk. As you may remember, she is leaving. State library delivery service system is having some issues, so there's been some issues for all libraries, ours included, on getting books and sending out books. So if you order a book that's in orange, there was a great system in place, and the books are being moved very efficiently. Some funding cuts and other reasons they have not been doing such an efficient job, and they're going to be looking into that, and Eric Worthman will be participating in a meeting and then participating with Ryan, which is the group that handles that, to see if they can find a way to better that service. And the last thing is, and maybe the most important thing of the night, is the commission voted unanimously for a staff development day, which will be taken on June 15th, and the library will be closed for the day, the entire day. So they're going to put that out there. It happens to be, they tried to look for the most convenient day where it's least likely to be used. That's a graduation day,
right.
and though that parking lot is always full on that day, it's a day that the library is not used as much. So that's the day of staff development, and the library will be closed. Okay, town planning and zoning. There were 2 meetings since we last met. There was one on the 2nd, which the major issue there was the continuation of a public hearing involving the JCCs asking for a permit change to the current usage of their day camp pool. What had happened is earlier, about a week earlier or so, the JCC hired an attorney, Thomas Lynch, who let the commission know that they would be only asking for continuance, which they had the right to do until the June meeting. So therefore the public hearing was continued. When they came, the residents came, some knew, some didn't know, wanted to have an opportunity to speak, but because it was continued until next month, there was no public comment on the public hearing again until next month. So that's what happened there. The 2 attorneys, the attorney for the residents as well as the attorney for the JCC, did meet and come to a decision that the attorney for the JCC will get them information on. They hired a company out of Enfield to do noise mitigation and to see if they can find a way to reduce the noise impact from the possible pool if they get the permit being used by the resident or by their members. So that company's coming in, hopefully they'll get a report to the attorney for the residents and that they will speak before the meeting because basically they're all running out of time, whether or not they're gonna use this during the summer. And the hearing will continue in June. Also in that evening, there was a public hearing for a resident at 3 Edge Hill Drive who was given received permission to have a home office space for limited hours in her home. She's an attorney and does mitigation. Or maybe it was some type of mitigation, I don't remember what kind.
I think she does mediation.
Mediation? Okay, maybe it was, yeah, that's right.
You have mitigation on the mind.
I know, I have mitigation on my mind, believe me. But she does mediation for limited hours, a couple hours a week,
Yeah.
and she was given permission because she literally only does it a couple hours a week. On the 9th, this Monday, there was a large public hearing for the Woodbridge Village Associates. You heard some of that conversation tonight. They own property on a couple properties on Bradley Road and a couple on Litchfield officially. They did receive permission about 10 years ago and a permit to build 134 units of 55 and up housing. They have come back to the town to ask for a change in that permit to allow for up to 150 units because they were originally given permission for 10 units per acre. So up to 150 units of rental property, not selling them, but renting them. They also asked for the minimum size to be decreased from 1,000 square feet to 700. And one or two other smaller changes, including, I told you up to 150 units. They did not have a site plan ready. They were really looking for guidance from the town plan and zoning to see if there was just something it was worth pursuing. The commission asked them for some additional information because they didn't really have a lot of specifics other than what I just spoke to you. Residents came out, many residents came out. There was one who spoke in favor. There was one of the applicants, one of the owners who also got up to speak. One resident came to speak in neutral terms, and I wrote that there were 16 residents that spoke against. It ran long. Points very well, were made very well. I thought the delivery, even though people were angry, the delivery of their thoughts were well thought out, well performed. It really, I think, went well for the people who were here to understand what was being asked for, because there was a lot of questions about what was happening there. And basically, come June, the June meeting will hopefully be at least a continuation of both of these issues. If not, the decisions will be made on both the JCC permit and the question of whether or not this group is going to put together and forward a site plan.
Point of information, they also requested removing the over 55 requirement.
Yes.
That's the most important.
Yes.
I didn't hear that.
Okay.
I think you said that, Tony. Thank you.
I think I said, but I didn't say permit.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sure. Apologize, I'm having my floors done at my house. Everything's a mess, so I'm gonna do my best here. I tried to knock it off today. I couldn't print out the statistics. It's a disaster, but anyway, sorry. I have to tell you, it was so horrible. I can't live like this anymore. I did attend the April 18th Fire Commission meeting, and the chief reported that the budget's gonna be very tight. It's me. Mostly due to apparatus repairs and maintenance. Engine 9 is having brake problems. I'm sure you've heard all about this, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Engine 3 having battery issues and the water pump problems. Ladder truck is 40 years old. I don't even think they're taking it out anymore. It's limping along. It's got mechanical and electrical issues. The fire dispatch issues continue. There was a lot of time spent on that, and they're trying to work with the police commission. They're waiting for the new police chief and hoping to move forward with training regarding fire dispatch. And they were looking to solve the problem down at Bradley Road, but we took care of that tonight. It was good. So that came up. The fire marshal had 36 inspections as of March meeting, and there were no fire investigations for the first time in a very long time. And I was going to make copies. They have indeed been very busy. The March statistical information is here. Tony took a peek at it and said, wow, it's really gone up. So my apologies, but there were a lot of calls and a lot of calls of interest. They're way ahead. And their next meeting is Monday, May 16th. Inland Wetlands was real quick. I think they were out of there in 20 minutes. The 100 Center Road, Will McLean, after discussion, the agency voted to waive the application fee as municipal improvement and to approve the application to build the bridge across the stream. That's your son coming for, I guess he's finally met all the hurdles, so this will be located on the Blue Trail on the Fitzgerald property.
Nice.
Right, and Chris Sullivan reported on behalf of Mr. Gilbertson that the required maintenance of the Elderslie drainage basin and the drainage basin on Lois Drive and Marion Lane has now been done. There was some confusion about when it was going to happen, and it has all been taken care of now. Under the Public Works crew and Carl Quist's direction, it was done quite well. And lastly, Human Services, quite a long meeting. They spent a lot of time in the Senior Center Director's job position. They had a search committee, was about to make a recommendation to the full commission, but apparently the job posting was voted by email, and it hadn't come to the full board because it was a snowstorm that night or bad weather. So it was recommended that they wait and post it for another 2 weeks. So that was what they agreed to do. But there was a lot of discussion about the position, and we will hear about it. I guess we were hoping to hear about it this meeting, but it'll hopefully happen next month. So that's been on hold. Mary Ellen talked about the 2 new employees that I mentioned last month that were hired, and everyone is very happy in the kitchen. Volunteer tea, you mentioned, I'm going to skip it. The commission continued the discussion about the senior center restroom, which I think has now met another hurdle.
Close.
Close, very close.
Yeah,
We have a meeting
she didn't say
scheduled.
what, but she
Yeah.
did say it was getting closer and
Right.
closer, so that's good news. They're happy about that. We talked about the 2 appointees to the Greater New Haven Transit District Board of Directors. Lee Canning, I guess you've all heard, that's who this person is that they're trying to hire. Her last day is June 30th? June 20 something. So she's trying to catch up and get a lot of things done. She gave a great report. They're already, believe it or not, planning the holiday fair. They're still continuing with computer and art classes. She gave a report on St. Patrick's Day luncheon and also new furniture for the activity room. We had an update on youth services. CPR course is going to be offered on June 13th, and I guess it's to all town employees. Is that correct? And the town will
Correct.
pay for town employees,
Right.
but residents can also come and do it for $75. So if anybody's interested. And the commission also voted to order a new sign for the senior center, so stay tuned, that'll be going up. And I guess it's going to say the center. They voted to have it say the center.
There's been some
That's it.
subsequent discussion
there
about
has.
that.
I kind of was, as a liaison, you don't participate, but I
Right.
was thinking, okay,
There
I'm
has
just
been,
gonna
yeah.
let this happen and see what happens, but okay.
I think Tony and Mary Ellen have spoken.
That's good.
Since the center is generally used for the entire building, so we didn't want, Tony and Mary Ellen have
I
spoken about it.
decided not to opine on it at the meeting, but
Yeah.
I thought it might come back.
Susan?
First, I want to say my floors are not being done.
Come to your house.
Coupop did not meet. Economic Development Commission, pretty much Betsy and Ellen covered all that had happened, just making another pitch for the business fair. The expo, I think, is really important. The police met and voted on a Hazel Terrace resolution, a combination of no parking and aspirational good neighborliness. We'll sort of see where that goes. I just want to make 2 quick comments. The first is that the Amity Coaches Against Cancer fundraiser is underway. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I want to make a pitch for it on behalf of Coach Chris Raffone of our state tennis championship team. You can look that up on Facebook. And speaking of Amity Sports, it's evidently cross-country team time because the kids are out there running. Please slow down, drivers. It's really not a good
Good point.
situation to have them out there and they're running and we've got big cars. So just everybody slow down right around 3 o'clock.
Thank you. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn? Joe?
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Second? Is there a
I second.
All those in favor?
It's not 7 o'clock yet.
Okay.
We got it.
Discussion.
No discussion.